Almost 5 years ago, I bought Sparky, our high-mileage BMW E36 M3. We have done everything in this car. We have driven it hard, tracked it, gotten stranded in it, won a car show award, blown the head gasket, fixed the head gasket, crashed it, fixed it again, drove it hard some more, and now it is sat untouched. In all of this excitement, this car has never been perfect or sorted, i.e. trouble-free and that magical word, reliable. With the amount of money I've spent on this car over the past several years, I could have had a nicer, lower mileage example of this car or a newer M3, which frankly is probably the decision I should have made. But despite all of that, I'm determined to show all of you, viewers of the internet, that you can have a sorted, high mileage, aging BMW private car. The odometer on this M3 sits at just under 262,000 miles right now. And in the next few years, we're going to have the nicest 300,000 mile BMW M3 on the road. And by the end of this video, I hope to convince all of you to finally buy that BMW project car you've always been lusting after. Now, before we can do any of that, some of the issues on this high mileage M3 have crept through the cracks, like the still questionable cooling system, the brakes that like to not function properly on track, the hood release cable being broken, interior trim pieces that are absolutely falling apart.
Bruh.
And a lot more I haven't even talked about. Not to mention we fixed the check engine light in the last video on this car, and we haven't even taken it out onto the road for a test drive to see if the check engine light really went away or not. We're gonna do that later this video. Last winter, we replaced the head gasket around 250,000 miles in this car, and I torqued down the head bolt by eyeballing it. We did the torque spec, the torque sequence, but the torque angle, I eyeballed it. Not one of my proudest moments. So we are going to test the cooling system for exhaust gases and make sure that the head gasket is in fact sealing. And we're gonna try another really simple cooling system fix, and hopefully that stops all of our cooling system issues. I'm really hoping that that works, but we'll find out later this video. Now I want to explain to all of you why I love this car so much, and I'm willing to put up with a lot of the issues that this car has. 20 to 30 years ago, BMW was at their heyday of making cars. All of their most beloved cars that define the brand came out from this time period. Cars like the E36 M3 behind me, the E39 M5, the E46 M3, the Z3, the first SUV, the X5, the E38 7 Series, so much more. Cars that are revered now as being some of the best cars BMW ever produced. BMWs for the first time were leaking into the mainstream and becoming the standard for other cars to beat. This car behind me, this E36 M3, was labeled the best handling car in 1997 by Car and Driver at any price point. Think about cars that were for sale in 1997. Cars like the Acura NSX, the Toyota Mark IV Supra, the Mazda RX-7, the Ferrari F355, and the NA Miata. Now, I would hope this handles better than an NA Miata because it was 3 times the price. However, it was not 3 times the price of those other cars, and in fact, it was actually a lot cheaper, which is one of the reasons that this car is so great. It's attainable. But those are not the reasons that I got into this car behind me. Let me tell you a story. When I was a kid, my dad had a 1992 Boston Green BMW 325i. Now, I grew up in a Ford family and around a lot of American cars, but every time I saw that green 325i, it reminded me of my dad. This car got me predisposed to liking European cars. In 2018, my freshman year of high school, I was browsing the internet to try to help my dad sell his green 325i, and I was looking for an 05 to 09 Mustang GT. But then I discovered a YouTube channel called Treats on the Streets. And then I discovered this car called the BMW M3. And one video in particular that he had just released got me hooked on the BMW E36 M3. 14-year-old me had never seen anything like this before. It was like this spaceship, the sounds it made, the styling. I mean, the square, it's a square. I mean, the squares are cool. You know, there was like a spaceship among all these other curvy modern cars that just didn't appeal as much to 14-year-old me as a freshman in high school. Did I mention that everybody likes squares? I kept watching the video over and over again. I couldn't get it out of my head. In high school, I wanted nothing more than to own a BMW E36 M3. But like any kid in high school with lofty prospects of first cars, I didn't have any money and I couldn't afford it. So I stretched my budget really thin, bought one sight unseen off of eBay, had to sell it because I couldn't afford it. Then I bought another one and unfortunately I crashed it. Those are stories for a different video. After I'd crashed that second one, I sort of gave up and I thought that I was never going to own one of these again, or at least not for the foreseeable future. When I tried to just put cars behind me, I tried to give up, I tried to walk away, but I had this unshakable itch that I couldn't get rid of. Off of a last-ditch Craigslist ad I had made about a year since I had bought the first one, I got a message about this car behind me. This is Sparky, our now over 260,000 mile BMW E36 M3. Sparky was my COVID purchase. In 2020, I'd been searching for an E36 M3 for months and kept coming up dry. But off of this last-ditch Craigslist ad I'd made, the owner messaged me. I test drove it for the first time on my birthday, April 24th, 2020. It was love at first drive. This car was never officially listed for sale, and to this day, I still thought as though it was meant to be. One of my biggest regrets was selling that first M3, as that was also a silver on black four-door. Now that one had 120,000 miles. This one, when I bought it, had 222,000 miles. And with a 222,000 mile car, even though it looked really nice, it came with 222,000 mile car problems. But despite the 222,000 mile car problems, I owe a lot to this car. A lot of my friends and experiences I've had in the car hobby have happened as a result of this car. I would say even when, but especially when, this car broke, the community came together to help me. Before I owned this car, I had never seen a racetrack or even done my own oil change. Now I'm a sort of okay driver, and I'm a lot more confident when it comes to working on cars. The passion behind this car is what got me to start this YouTube channel that you're all watching me on, which is something I wanted to do even years before I was ever a car guy. So that's why I love this car behind me. Now I'm gonna give you 5 good reasons, or maybe 3, I haven't decided yet, that you should want a high mileage BMW project car for yourself. Come on, there you go. Ah, will never cease to amaze me how awkwardly heavy these things are. Audio sync. These are the 5 reasons I think that you are gonna want a BMW project car. First reason, they are fun to drive. I don't think I need to elaborate on this, but I'm going to. BMWs, in my opinion, have a way of driving that's different from a lot of cars. They do a really good job at making themselves feel a lot smaller than they are. Case in point, last year, we took an E38 7 Series, big old luxury sedan, probably weighed almost 4,000 pounds, big V8, whatnot. We took it on a back road, and even with its 5-speed slush box automatic transmission, the car felt at home. I didn't feel like it was too big. It was just the right size. And BMWs have a way of feeling nice, insulated, luxurious, all the things you want out of a daily driver, while still being fun, playful, enjoyable at the limit, and sort of raw enough, but not too raw and in your face, like a purpose-built sports car. So it's a nice blend of a car that you want to drive all the time, and that also does not beat you up, and you can take to work the next day. And the best way I could sum it up is they don't really do anything special. They don't do anything particularly well. A Porsche 911 is more raw. A Mercedes has more luxury, and Audi owners just want a BMW M3. But if you buy a BMW, you can have all 3 of them. I'm sorry, Audi owners. I really like Audis. I had to throw that in there for the bit. I am a BMW lover after all, so I have to hate you. It's nothing personal. It's just I have brand allegiance, and that trumps everything else. It's the thing that matters most in this world. So very sorry, but there you go. That BMW's fun to drive. So reason number 2, they are durable. Now, what do I mean by durable? Unlike a Japanese car or an American car, which I would classify as reliable in a traditional sense, BMWs aren't really that. No German car really is. They're not reliable in the sense that you can neglect them. Now they are durable. If you do the maintenance, you take care of it, you keep it in reasonably nice shape, you follow the manual when you're working on it, you torque everything down, they will take as much of a beating as you can give them. So when you're having fun driving, they last. Case in point, my M3 has 262,000 miles. Doesn't consume a drop of oil. Took a lot to get it there. And it pulls really strong. We did a head gasket on my M3, and basically as soon as I took it out, even with the Vanos being timed off, the cam timing being off, we were still able to get 7 really solid 15 to 20 minute track sessions out of it in one day. Car didn't skip a beat. Of course, a lot of time, money, effort went into getting it to that point. But if you do that work, they're durable, they last, they're built to last, they do well with high mileage life. It gives me another sense of security that I can kind of redline the car and drive it how I want without worrying of it breaking, because I know that I replaced everything and the Germans built the car in a way where it can handle that. I mean, they were designed for Autobahn driving. Number 3, there is a lot of variety within BMWs. You can buy anything from a smaller sports car like a Z3 convertible or an M3, or go all the way up to the Big Daddy 7 Series and get a bunch of luxury. And they all sort of carry a similar driving dynamic and characteristic. When you're behind the wheel, you can sort of think, ah, yes, I'm behind a BMW. One of my favorite cars the BMW makes is the E39 5 Series, especially the E39 M5. At the time, it was the fastest sedan in the world in 2000, and what a car. 400 horsepower V8 manual rear wheel drive. It just does everything right. You just start smiling when you're behind the wheel. It's awesome that they have this variety of body styles and, you know, coupes, convertibles, sedans, wagons, different shapes, sizes, but they all sort of carry similar characteristics, driving, similar design language in their styling. And you can tell they're all part of the same family, but they're also different enough to where you can sort of get a flavor of BMW and see, okay, they can do this thing better. They can make a big luxury sedan or a small sports car, and they're all good. So yeah, lots of variety. If you want a BMW project car, you want to join the community, there's a lot of options for you to pick from. And we have a lot of other YouTube videos where we kind of discuss our opinions on every BMW. So reason number 4, there's a ton of aftermarket support. This might be a bold claim. I think that BMWs has the most aftermarket support out of any car out there. Now let me explain what I mean. There may be cars that have more sheer aftermarket support. I mean, Honda Civics are kind of hard to beat. Basically anything that can, could have, or is physically possible to have been done with a Honda Civic, somebody has done. But what I like about BMWs is it's really easy for an entry-level enthusiast that doesn't know a ton about the car to find good parts. It may sound funny, but when I bought my 2001 Toyota Camry, it was actually kind of a rude awakening that I actually had to start doing research to find what brands are good and what parts to buy. You have tons of websites that you can go shop for in your BMW to find OE, good aftermarket parts, like Turner Motorsport as an example, who is the sponsor for this video. Link in the description down below to find your BMW parts on Turner Motorsport. So expanding this out a little bit further, I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm sort of talking about. See, when you buy something like a Porsche is an exotic car, built to do something very specific really well. It has no compromises driving experience. Kind of similar to Lamborghini, Ferrari, something exotic. They're expensive, that's how the deal goes. Something like a Volkswagen or a Honda Civic is lower end, and people don't have the budget for high quality aftermarket parts. Some people do, but not everybody, and a lot of people don't, especially once you go older. So a lot of people don't put in the R&D into making good parts for those other cars. So finding good parts, if you want to build one the right way, is difficult, in my opinion. Can be difficult, I should say. Whereas if you buy something like a Porsche, it's so exotic, it's so nice, you don't want to modify it. It's already perfect out of the box. It came the way the manufacturer designed the car, and you kind of leave it the way the manufacturer designed the car. So BMW is in that sort of middle spot where you can find high quality parts, they're everywhere, and the car's not so nice and so perfect that you don't want to mess with it. It sort of gives you the flexibility to customize the car however you want. Any car you want, a bunch of aftermarket support for the car that you want, which leads to a lot of general variety and the cars you see, the builds you see, all that stuff. And I think it's really cool. Now, the last reason, and this one is true of a lot of brands, but I would say the community. Like we were just talking about the aftermarket parts, A lot of people are passionate about these cars and a lot of people like to wrench on them. They're nice enough where people want to put the time in. They're passionate enough about the car, put the time into it to make it really nice. You can't buy cheap parts for a BMW like you can some other lower end cars. So you'll find a greater variety of builds of people that put the time and money into it and made it nice. And unlike some Porsche guys, I find that a lot of BMW owners are more mechanically inclined and sort of know a lot more about their car. Whereas when you go to Porsche, people start talking about specs, numbers, but it's hard to find, I don't want to say a die-hard enthusiast, because everybody's a car enthusiast. You just sort of have different experiences with it. But the way that I interact with the car hobby, I find a lot more of that with BMW. You know, I went on YouTube and found a DIY series explaining how to do the head gasket on my S52. I've not really seen another car where somebody took the time to break it down so easily in a way that I was able to understand, having never done it before. And I think that's something really cool. Everybody's nice. When I was especially getting into BMWs, I was opened with welcome arms. Everybody loves new enthusiasts. Everybody likes to help each other. It's a great community. Can't say enough good things about it. Now that we've established why you'd want a BMW, and I mean, who wouldn't? These are 5 foolproof, solid reasons. We are going to do a head gasket pressure test, our cooling system pressure test on my M3 to test for a bad head gasket, and then do our cooling system fix and take it out on the road for the first time in 2025.
But before we drive our M3, a word from our sponsor, Turner Motorsport and ECS Tuning. Turner Motorsport and ECS are your one-stop shop for all of your European car part needs, including parts for our aging, high-mileage BMW sports cars. Whether you want genuine, OEM, or aftermarket parts, Turner has got you covered. And now with their lifetime warranty, you can be assured that what you're buying is high quality. So click the link in the description to order your parts today from Turner and ECS to support the companies that support MTech. Now, back to the show.
Getting ready to take our M3 out onto the road. Let me show you what we are working with here. So our cooling system fix. This little pesky guy. So if you're an E36 owner, you know what this is. That is a coolant expansion tank bleeder screw. And if you notice the material of it, it is brass. Now the factory ones are plastic, and I've actually ordered from the dealer 2 new plastic ones. For so many years, I've had this mystery coolant leak, and I replaced a couple of expansion tanks. I kept thinking it was the expansion tank. But what I noticed the other day when I pulled out the bleeder screw is the seal on here is actually smushed. And the coolant is coming out right around here, the overflow for the expansion tank. So I suspect that this is not sealing correctly. And that's why we have the coolant leak we have. Now, just for safety's sake, we do have one of these guys, this little head gasket tester tool. Will be good just to see. I want to know for sure that the head gasket's not bad. It's probably okay. For some reason though, even though I think it's probably okay, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence, and I'm still kind of nervous to do this. So I'm really hoping that our engine is not like super messed up, but yeah. We're gonna install a new bleeder screw and do our head gasket test. And then once we're done with the head gasket test, we will take Sparky, our high mileage M3 on the road, and we're gonna talk about plans for the series and kind of what you guys can expect on the channel. So I've never actually done an expansion tank pressure test before. I think you just put the fluid in, start the engine, and then you give it a couple pumps to this thing up top, and then I think you should know within 10-15 minutes. So we'll see how this goes. So far so good, I think. The video I saw on YouTube, when he did that right after he started it, the fluid changed color immediately. Now I do think you have to get it up to operating temperature a little bit for it to actually get full effectiveness, but this already gives me a little bit of confidence. I now strangely have a much better feeling about this than I did about 2 minutes ago. However, something unfortunate just happened. This came back. Wow, guys, I haven't driven this car in a hot minute. Temps in the middle so far. Good on that front. Going into gear nicely. Do a couple laps around the neighborhood before we go out onto the actual road. Brakes are pretty squeaky right now. Oh man, I miss driving this thing. Wow. So our P1519 code came back on, which is unfortunate because that would mean that our Vanos fix from the last video did not in fact work. So I cleared it. We're gonna see if it comes back in the drive. Just kind of taking it easy on the thing right now. It hasn't really been driven in 6 months. We did put fuel stabilizer in it. I can tell the gearbox is cold. It's a little sticky. Not horribly so, but you know, when a car's just been sitting for a while and everything needs to kind of loosen up a little bit. It's kind of how it feels right now. I hear a rhythmic something. I wonder if the tires have hard spots on them from sitting. Very possible. Right, so while we are driving, I figure I might as well start talking about what do we need to fix on this M3. So over the next couple of months, we have a fair amount of things to fix. For starters, that check engine light that came back, unfortunately. I'm a little upset about that because I'm not really sure what it is. Oh my God. Why do these cars do that? It just banged at me and it's telling me it's 38 degrees outside. Dude, why do they do that? So we have that to fix. We also have a new heater valve because our heat currently doesn't work. This is dual zone climate control. One half is always on, one half always isn't. I broke the heater valve last winter when we were doing the head gasket. So I bought a new genuine BMW one from Turner Motorsport, which was kind of expensive. We're going to fix the brakes. Another problem we have is the axles. Passenger axle in the rear, the outer boot is torn. So we are going to reboot both axles just for peace of mind. We need to fix the axles in the rear, get those rebooted. Then we also have a parking brake issue. I think it's working right now. Like yeah, it is working right now. Maybe it'll just stay working. That'd be nice. I rebuilt the parking brake late last year. And ever since then, sometimes it works and sometimes I pull it up and the handle just feels like there's nothing there. We'll see what that is when we actually get there. Probably when we do the axles because they're kind of in that area already. What was that? That was a lot of bang. On the topic of issues, other issues that I want to fix with this car are the parasitic battery draw, so I don't have to take the battery out of this car every time I park it. Believe me, that's getting pretty old. Then we have new suspension for this car. So the current suspension that's on this car, in my opinion, it's gonna sound crazy, I actually think it sits a little bit too low. And I would like something that's a tad bit taller. I usually don't have problems now, but very occasionally I'll scrape on something and it's always the worst feeling when I do. I'm also starting to kind of grow to like old man fitment. And then the other problem I have is my suspension geometry is wrong. So when I was younger and dumber, a couple of years ago, I bought a suspension system used. Now it's very lately used. I think it had like 5,000 miles on it. It was basically new and I got a screaming deal on it. What I did not realize is that suspension was for a 95 M3, and the 95 M3s, for the E36 body style, have a different front suspension geometry, including the control arms. So I'm running 95 struts with the 1998, which is the 96 through 99 style control arms, and therefore I cannot align the car correctly. My front camber is maxed out positive at -2.5, which is kind of messed up. And like I suspected, my steering wheel vibration has virtually gone away. I just did the pull pretty well to red line. I still don't have a check engine light. There was one last thing we need to fix that I'm now remembering now that I've driven this car for about the past 30 minutes to an hour. And that is all the squeaks and rattles in the interior. So glove box rattles one. That speaker I just discovered is only held on with 2 of its 3 screws. And I think if I remember correctly, ages ago, I dropped one of the screws inside of the speaker. So the speaker on that corner of the car is constantly rattling, and it's very annoying. And generally, my kind of goal with this project is to fix a lot of the little things wrong with this M3, and I want to make it more streetable. I did a lot of things over the past few years that the NVH didn't really bother me, but now it kind of does. I guess I'm growing up kind of fast in that regard.
We need rear tires.
Yeah, I'm kind of becoming an old man in that way. I kind of just want the car to shut up when I'm driving. Like right now, rattle, rattle, rattle. That's like 3 right there. This one, it's like broken. That one's annoying. Oh my God, there's just so many rattles in this car.
And Porsche 911 gave me a thumbs up. I gotta love it. People love this car. I like his car.
It appears, though, we have our work cut out for us. We have 2 track days in the same weekend coming up in May, so in a few months from now, that we need to make sure that Sparky is ready for. We have a new channel build series, which is super exciting. I hope in this video I've convinced all of you to buy that BMW project car you've always been wanting. I'm kind of excited to get into this thing again and get it ready for some good track stuff and a ton of driving over the next summer and few years as we drive up to 300,000 miles. Make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you let me know that you like seeing this content and you don't miss any updates. But with all that, everybody, we will catch you in the next video.
Feels like I've been